Joining us right now is the founder of that organization behind it all, friend of the show, John Hope Bryant, CEO of Operation Hope, and it's great to see you here. We've been talking about
in Atlanta.
We've been talking about the markets all morning, the turmoil with trade, Mexico. You talk about inclusive capitalism. Interconnect them, because I know you're thinking about this morning.
Well, look, there is a need to push back, and there's a need to find the right balance. So I think that in some ways the administration is doing what they think they need to do. But remember that Birmingham, Alabama could have been Atlanta, but they fought over race and stupid stuff, and we decided to fight over money. So the color wasn't white, black, red, brown, and yellow. It was the color of green and what was best for the city. Now, Atlanta has exploded economically, busiest airport in the world, one of the top 10 MSAs in the country. People are getting along, prosperity, right. Enough prosperity to go around, in economic growth for all. And we're finding that sometimes that the tail wags the dog. That if my rich friends want to do better, they need my rich friends want to stay rich. Need to make sure that my poor friends do better. Whether those poor friends are in the south side of Atlanta or on the west side or in Mexico or in Africa or in China is irrelevant. We're a nation built on immigrants.
Well, let me ask you, though, about that, because we may be a nation built on immigrants, but legal immigrants.
Yeah,
so the question is it appropriate to use trade or tariff sanctions, if you will, to effectuate this other issue? That's what we were just talking about with Bill Daley.
Well, look, I'm not going to get into that because that's a complicated issue. I will say, though, that, NASCAR has celebrated it, but, it was made by moonshine runners in the Appalachian Mountains. That wasn't exactly legal. That all of the immigrants who came through Ellis Island, who looked like you more than they looked like me, weren't all legal immigrants. And some of them were turned back, by the way. A lot of my Jewish friends were turned back. They ultimately came in, and we built an economy on their foundation. They couldn't get in those office towers, so they made some of them of their own. Goldman Sachs was a guy named Goldman and a guy named Sachs selling financial services door to door. I'm saying that these are serious issues, and I'm going to let Washington deal with that. But we should balance this out by understanding that we don't live in an isolated world, that America is a beacon for freedom and economic opportunity for all.
Let me ask you, I was just saying during the commercial break, this is your Super Bowl. I mean, you have executives and CEOs. This is 5,000 people are here.
Yeah, and Ed Bastian was emailing me when he and I were going back to CEO of Delta at 2 in the morning as he's preparing to go to Korea, because he was so hyped from being here and loved interviewing with you, by the way. So it's not checking a box. They're really into this.
But what is this all about?
This is about expanding prosperity for all of God's children. This is about GDP. I really believe we can pop GDP 1% if we can get the credit score up 100 points. I know that sounds a little silly, but half of African Americans have a credit score below 620. Right. You can't get a small business loan. You can't get a decent home mortgage. We have most of the problems we have in rural white America, 500 credit score neighborhoods. Black and brown America, 500 credit score neighborhoods. It's not a political issue or a racial issue. It's an economic issue.
AT&T last night announced a new partnership with you and your organization to
Hope
go
inside the workplace. Explain
what that is.
The average worker spends 28 hours a month at jobs, stressed out and immobilized about money. The average worker. That's half a work week. So we're trying to provide financial well-being. We're doing it at Hope Inside at Delta. We're doing Hope Inside at UPS. The CEO of UPS will be here later today. And now we're doing Hope Inside at AT&T. For their call center employees, if you can't pay your workers more right now, treat them better. Right. Let's just give them some financial well-being, some financial coaching, so they have the resiliency to lean in and make your company better. We're going to do that at scale across this country.
I want to ask you about a hot-button issue here in Georgia, your home state. Georgia, of course, the governor there signing an abortion law. Entertainment companies, including, by the way, parent company of this network, NBC Universal, pulling or at least threatening to pull their business in the state. I want to play a clip from this interview that I did with a partner of yours and a speaker at this conference. Tony Ressler oversees $130 billion and, of course, owns the Hawks, so he has a big stake.
And is investing $6 billion downtown with his brother.
In what's going on in Atlanta. Listen to what he had to say about this.
It's political malpractice to poke in the eye one of the largest industries that employs your population after spending 15 years attracting them in any way possible, led by tax incentives. So how could you say you're business friendly and yet go after what is in fact one of your largest employers?
This is almost the same conversation as we're having with an immigrant conversation. that sometimes the tail wags the dog. Sometimes you're winning the battle and losing the war. You got to be very delicate about how you do this. I love the phrase that Tony Ressler is not making a political statement.
Right.
He's making a math statement. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. It is, I love the phrase, political malpractice. How can you say, let's bring all these businesses in here. Let's bring the entertainment industry in here. Let's give them tax incentives to do it. It's billions of dollars of GDP and jobs in the state of Georgia. You have studios that have been stood up here, and then you stub your toe on something like this, and I'm not even sure what battle we're winning, but we're certainly proposing to lose the war. I think there are other ways to get to these issues. This is a little bit, I think, stagecraft, and I think Tony Ressler is right, and I think he's making a very accurate statement. It is political and economic malpractice to say you want jobs and to do something like this.
But let me ask you this, which is the hard part, is what you do so well, and you're really at the intersection of it. You are at the intersection of social issues and economic issues.
Right.
And oftentimes we talked about it on the show yesterday, we almost want to separate those issues, but in so many ways they are connected.
Yeah, and look, 70% of my employees are women, so I'm not telling them what to do with their bodies. I'm real clear. They made it very clear what their opinion is. And you look at somebody who makes political decisions in like, say, Alabama. It's all men. It's all white men who are 65 years old. Is that really progressive to not include the people you're making a decision about in the decision that you're making a decision for? I think that we have got to stop winning battles and losing wars. And I think that you can find a common ground here to do well and do good and to speak to all interests. I respect all views here, and I think the governor even here has a right and a principled position on this, but we got to find a better way to get to the solution.
Right. John Hope Bryant, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for being here.
Congratulations on this extraordinary
We're honored to have
days.
a CNBC Squawk Box in the great city of Atlanta.
Good to see you. Thank you, sir.